I'd like to call the Public Works Subcommittee regular meeting to order. We're in 61 Echo Lake Road in the Town Council Chambers. It's 2 minutes after 6. Can I have a roll call, please? Here. Here.
Gary Lafferty.
Here.
Robert Ritalik. Rachel Ryan.
Here.
Thank you. Item 3, minutes. Item A, approval of the May 9th regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes of May 9th, 2022.
How about a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, any changes? Deletions, additions? Nothing? Okay. All in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Rachel's going to abstain. Public participation, I don't see anybody. Is there anybody on the big screen? No? Thank you. So item 5, correspondence. Mark, do you want to talk about item A, notice to
So
proceed Middlebury Road drainage?
Yes, so basically that was in your packet after the May meeting. Since we skipped a couple months, that project actually went out and the work is we're actually on the conclusion of that work. So basically it was just a notice advising the area residents of the job. And the same thing would be for the notice to proceed in Echo Lake Road. It's the communication and notice that was given to the area residents as we move forward with that job as well.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
No.
No. I have one quick question. Will Echo Lake Road be done before winter?
It will, we'll skip ahead a little bit if you want the expected
Oh, you're
start.
gonna, okay, I got you. That's fine, thanks.
Okay.
Old business, Buckingham Street, Ball Farm Road. I think we have good news, right?
That's correct. So that job was actually, the owners of Ordinary Joe's took it upon themselves to make some of the corrections in that area. From what I understand, the corrections they made have solved that issue. They had actually found that one of the posts that they had, when they installed their deck, had pierced the piping, creating a partial blockage. So the correction has been made. From what I understand, we had some heavy rain thereafter. They found that the correction actually, the pipe had floated. So the contractor came back, weighted that pipe down, and from what I understand, the correction has been successful.
Awesome.
So
Wow, when does that happen?
that could be taken off our old business and
I
move
think a month
forward.
ago.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I just had a question on that. I know you said they made the corrections by, putting blocks, weights and chains on it. I just didn't know, did they run across ledge underneath the pipe, or why couldn't it get down deep enough, or?
Basically, this is all done on private property, so the
Yeah.
town hasn't done any work. But from what I understand from general conversation is that the pitch of the pipe was so shallow, they didn't want to bring it, they didn't want to go too deep with the pipe. So a corrective action was adding some weights to the pipe to keep it under the ground properly as the water moved through it.
Okay.
How about some good news on Turkey Brook?
So our highway department has done an excellent job in removing all the vegetation from Turkey Brook, from the area of Sylvan Lake, all the way over to the next Falls Avenue, I'm sorry, the name, Falls Avenue and Sunnyside. So they went that far. They cleaned out all the vegetation. They do need to go back and dredge it. But the area residents are very happy with the work that the highway department has done. It is somewhat barren in that area because they really did a good job of removing everything. But taking that concerns of the area residents of flooding, those concerns have been removed on the work the highway has done. So.
Good. Any questions?
No, looks good when I went by the other day.
Yeah, if you want to take a look at it, if you take a ride into the senior center parking lot, you could really see a good idea of all the work the highway department did on that project.
Nice, thank you. How about item C, Middlebury Road again?
So Middlebury Road drainage is approximately 95% complete. The contractor is finishing up that job. If they may even be finished today. I just haven't got a chance to take a ride out there. That's been completed, and as soon as they finish up, they plan to move to the Echo Lake Road, which is item D. And from what I understand, I spoke with Paul Bunovich today, and he believes that Stony Brook Construction, who was awarded the contract, will begin work either at the end of August or right after Labor Day in September. And they do anticipate that being completed before the winter.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
I had a couple of questions on that.
Sure.
Now, they said they accepted the bid price from last year. I know in the last minutes it said something, there was $170,000 and then 204 with the contingency fund. But then they said that Stony Brook was going to go back to another contract, another supplier, and check on the cost of the pipe and was going to be able to do it cheaper, you know.
So I cannot give you exact numbers. I didn't review it that deep, but I do remember when both these projects went out to bid, Stony Brook Construction was the lowest bidder on both projects, and Mr. Spina at the time spoke with the owner of Stony Brook and made some arrangement to keep that price point in line with what we had budgeted. So from my understanding, and I'm not saying this 100%, is that should come in on budget as well.
And have we heard anything on the infrastructure funding at all?
On which infrastructure?
Was there some kind of a funding thing through Johanna Hayes' office or the state?
So that would be separate. We applied for 2 grants with Johanna Hayes' office. One was for the Main Street RSA project, and the secondary one was through the Police Department for Communications. So that would not have anything to do with the project, and we don't expect any answer until March of 2023.
March of 2023, did you say?
That's correct. So basically, the project,
she has to
the
win.
congressional funding will move forward in November to the Appropriations Committee, but they do not expect any awards until March of '23.
Yeah. Anything else, Gary?
No, I think that's it.
Oh, I had a question. But
Sure.
where on Middlebury Road was the drainage?
So it's right down by the intersection with Route 6, so right in the Taft area where that pond is,
Oh,
to
yeah.
Vale Road.
Oh, right,
I don't
yeah.
know how far it went into Middlebury Road, but it was in that general area.
Okay.
All right, we're all good. New business.
So item A, pavement management analysis. Before Mr. Spina left, he had put both the pavement analysis out to bid. He received, I believe, 3 proposals for that bid, and after interviewing those companies, himself and engineering, he had decided to move with Beta, who was the lowest bidder for that pavement management analysis. They've been given the authority to move forward with that project. They're analyzing our roads at this point, and I spoke with engineering today. They plan on meeting with Beta on I believe the 16th or 17th of next week to kind of just get together, look at their process of analysis, and to give us the heads up of where they're moving with the project. So we're expecting a finished project or finished product sometime in October, and that'll give us better understanding on how to manage and move forward with improving the roads.
Great. Questions? No? Item B.
So, department updates. Let's see here. Just as an advisory, the Naugatuck Valley COG, Naugatuck Valley
sorry,
Council
guys.
of Governments,
That's usually off.
part of the federal monies that were coming forward, the $5 billion for the safe streets that we've talked about in many meetings, because of the size of Watertown and the position we are in with our engineering and project statuses, we could not meet the criteria to move forward and try to apply for some of those grants under that Safe Street grant. We partnered with NVCOG, and they're going to do a regional area application for grants. So we wrote a letter to NVCOG, to Mark Nielsen, the Assistant Director, and asked if we can move along with them to try and acquire some funds. So we applied, I believe, I'm not sure if you got it in your package, but I know you received an email just of the advisement and our request to Mark Nielsen, basically looking at our corridor from Route 73 on the Waterbury line all the way north to the 6373 intersection, and then further north to the Route 6. So that whole Main Street corridor, that we look at it, we're looking at streetscapes, bump outs, improvements, sidewalks. It's the same thought process that we've been talking about for quite a while. And with their assistance and their positioning, we stand a good chance of getting some monies if it's awarded to the state of Connecticut in this area. Okay. Highway, again, we've already discussed Turkey Brook. I'd like to really commend the Highway Department for doing all that work down there. They did an excellent job. There was a push from the Police Commission to install a third-way stop at Echo Lake and Porter Street. The Highway Department installed those stop signs today, and we will maintain the same process as we did with the Sperry Road stop sign, where the stop signs have been installed. There's a bag placed on the stop sign for motorists to get used to that area. There was a stop bar installed, and we intend to put it in the newspaper just advising the area residents that we will be installing that stop sign. And we will unveil the stop sign with a target date, was it the 22nd? 22nd of this month. So it'll make the police commission happy. They feel very strongly that we have that three-way stop put there.
Awesome.
Upcoming, if you'd like to move on to item C, unless you have any questions.
I had a sort of, maybe not exactly related, but I had somebody from town asked me about an intersection where they were painting crosswalks, and it was Beach Avenue, and I'm not quite sure, was it
Beach in Nova Scotia, or Beach in East
I
Street,
think
or
it must have
Northwest
been-
Drive? Those are the streets. that
Yeah,
are-
so I was just looking at the map, but he said that there's a crosswalk that goes diagonally across the intersection, because there's a bus stop there, but they
Yeah.
didn't paint it.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
They did not paint it?
Yeah, so he was just wondering if it was gonna be painted, since it
If
seems
it's,
to be a school bus stop.
I'm gonna have to ask, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I would assume if it's a legitimate crosswalk that we would, it's in the process of being painted, it should be painted before the end of the year, but I'll follow up with the highway to find out.
Okay, thank you.
And you said Beach and East?
I think Beach and East
Okay.
is what he was saying.
Yeah, it's a three-way. I had a question too.
Yeah, it's a weird.
Getting back to the stop signs, after they did the Sylvan Lake Road over, going down towards Falls Avenue, they eliminated that stop sign there. I don't know if that was, it's,
I don't believe that stop sign was eliminated. I don't believe that stop sign was ever there. I have asked about it, and
Yeah.
if you drive down there, it really is only a one-way stop. You have Falls Avenue that runs into that intersection. That's really the only roadway that should be stopping before making a right and left turn. I did ask about it. They felt that was the design, and they wanted to keep it. I think, because I don't know if Mr. DeCina remembers, but I don't believe there was ever a stop sign there just during the construction phase. I believe it was. That's what I recall. I don't know if you remember anything different.
Through the chair.
Sure.
To facilitate the traffic flow. Now the traffic, if you want to say, going east and west on Sylvan Lake. West means going from the pond,
Yeah.
going west, and east means coming down the hill.
Yep.
There's a traffic flow, they just go their flow. And if they make a right turn onto Falls Avenue, it's an easy flow. People have to be educated to know that the stop sign is there when they're going north on Falls Avenue. You stop to make a left turn or a right turn. And from somebody who walks that way on a daily basis and travels that way 2-3 times a day, I think it's an improvement. Opinionated on my part there.
Yeah.
And I've also noticed Public Works down there, working on Turkey Brook. They've been there constantly, up until maybe a week or so ago. Full crews, they're doing a lot of reconstruction work, remedial work themselves, instead of farming it out to contractors.
Yes.
They're doing a lot. Thank you. Answer.
Does that
That's
answer
it.
your question?
Yeah, yeah.
Upcoming paving projects?
Sure.
So Hungerford Avenue, or Hungerford Avenue is probably our worst road. If you have a chance, take a ride down it, it's awful. It's clearly identified as one of the worst roads in Watertown. So before Mr. Spina left, and as we get further in, I'll give you a little more indication of what position he's filling at this time for us. But he felt that we needed to get Hungerford redone. We're coordinating with Water and Sewer because they're doing some work over there as well. We'd like to get Hungerford Avenue done this paving season. There is a little issue in that our Water and Sewer is unable to get pipe to fix the upgrade they need to do on Frederick Street. So we're going to have to coordinate something to maybe get Hungerford completed and then put Frederick off until we can get the repairs made, because we certainly don't want Water and Sewer to go in there and make their repairs after we've just freshly paved that road. So we're trying to coordinate that. Additionally, Mr. Spina identified Skipper Avenue, Bisbee Street, Turner Avenue, Ann Avenue, Happy Avenue, Emil Avenue, Lilac, Woodlawn, and Frederick Street as additional paving that we would do this year. So Highway has been out there addressing the needs of the changes that have to happen to readjust the sewer grates and the runoff area. They're adjusting those in preparation for this paving that's going to occur during the fall paving season. Just if we could just kind of cover this here. So we don't have enough money in the budget to do all these projects. So we're looking at probably around $700,000. So before Mr. Spina left, he went through the budget. We identified some monies that were left in the 2013 bond. We're going to move that. I'm going to bring that to the town council at the next town council meeting and ask for an appropriations to move this money. So we're going to look at taking money from our crack ceiling line item, our culvert relining transfer, which is a closeout from the 2013 bonding, our Bowers culvert replacement transfer, which is also from the 2013 bonding. And then we're going to take money out of our chip seal, and we're going to transfer this money in to cover, hoping to cover all our paving needs for this October. And this will be ahead of getting our pavement analysis, because it's definitely in line with where we're going from the previous Public Works Director. I don't know if you have any
I have a
questions.
question. What about the ARPA money? Didn't we set aside money from ARPA to do some paving?
So we did. But at last we left it with the council was that I was going to come back with more of a full plan to identify.
Right.
I think it's best that we wait for the pavement analysis program to actually identify where we should go. And from what I've learned is that, Highway could only do so much work to get us ready for these roads to be paved. So we're going to have to incrementally allow that process to happen. So as we use that money, we're definitely going to use it. It's just, I think we should have a real plan in place before we start spending.
Okay, and one other question about Hamilton Avenue, because didn't we have a resident come and speak and talk about it?
Yes.
So did Mr. Spina say anything about Hamilton in comparison to these other roads?
So,
I noticed there's a house for sale in that area that she was talking about. I don't know if it was her house or somebody else's house that's on the market, but.
so I don't want to misspeak, but from what I understood, I'm just looking through the notes that Mr. Spina left for things that we addressed, and I don't think he specifically addressed that, but I'm going to have to follow up and see if we identified. The paving of Hamilton is probably not going to end up high on the list for having to be done right away, but I believe that there were concerns that the homeowner brought up that we were able to address, and I have to follow up to see if they were. Okay. I'll send you an email. I'll send everybody an email just on what I found out.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Anybody have
We
any
good on
questions?
paving?
Just a quick question. What ballpark figure of what you're gonna be transferring from those accounts that we had leftover funds from?
So we identified about 23,000 that were left over from the 2013 bond. And then we're going to be moving approximately $100,000, a little bit more, from the chip seal. And then 87,000 from crack sealing. And then we already had additional money that was in the budget. So in the totality of everything, we should be able to cover what we're anticipating.
The 700,000?
Approximately 700,000, yes.
Okay.
Oh, all I had to do was look down the agenda a little further. There's your numbers.
That's okay. I called Danielle 100 times today, and I should have done the same thing.
Grassbrook Park.
So that's the walkway that they're installing from the rear parking lot down to the pool area.
Yeah.
So I don't have much to update. I know that they cut in the path. Mr. Cochilla was supposed to get there and grade it properly. Highway assisted so that we could keep the cost down. They did a lot of removal of the material. But I don't have an update on when that's going to be completed. I did ask engineering to call Mr. Cochilla today because I'm concerned that it's just raw dirt at this time. I don't want somebody to slip during a rainstorm or something like that and create a liability for us. So I will continue to follow up to get that project completed.
Questions? Public Works Director, search.
So you're all aware that Mr. Spina has resigned. He's gone back to his old employer. So we are actively searching for a new Public Works Director. I was hoping that we could have convinced Mr. Spina to stay, but for personal reasons, he's made some decisions and he did leave us. So immediately, we did put the position up and we posted it. As of this afternoon, before I came down, we have 9 applicants.
Oh, great.
They're not all qualified based on our job description, but each one has a unique qualification that we could at least look at and decide if they may be the right fit for us. You know, when Mr. Spina, he was almost here about a year, and I have to say we made a lot of improvements in our customer service organization. We've made some improvements in efficiency, and I don't want to see us lose those improvements that we made. So those are going to be some of the expectations that I would have as we try to choose another Public Works Director, is that they, share that same vision of, customer service, efficiency, and just improving and moving the town forward in the near future. Just so all the members are aware, I asked Mr. Demers to do an exit interview with Mr. Spina. And that was conducted with Mr. Lafferty, and they had time to at least understand why Mr. Spina left. And during that interview process, I'm sure they'd be willing to share with everybody if needed or asked. But it was strictly personal reason for Mr. Spina to leave. Our organization is structured well. He thought our organization was very efficient in what they were doing. He did identify some areas we can improve, and we're going to continue to make those improvements.
Sure.
Just one other thing, I did have a question last week regarding the Public Works Director's job description, and we set the salary between 117 and 131. So I left that range because depending on people's qualifications, we may have to adjust that. I also added in there, if you recall, I asked for that $7,500 stipend that I could utilize to make this position more attractive. At this time, I believe there's 6 to 8 Public Works Directors positions open in the state of Connecticut. So we need to be as competitive as possible without giving away the bank. But those numbers were very important for me to save for negotiations. If we find the ideal candidate, we don't want to lose them because we're priced out of the market. And that's kind of the reason why I thought it was important to put the salary range on there at this point. Not that we want to steal someone from another town, but all's fair in business.
Right.
Any questions?
The only question I have in this, in the search, now you said he's staying on as a consultant in that?
That's correct. So when Mr. Spina decided to leave, we sat down and how he could best help us transition. Because again, like I said, I don't want to steer away from the vision that we created in, improving our customer service and our efficiency. So he did offer to stay on an hourly rate, and he would come in 1 weeknight a week. And he's been coming in on a Tuesday and then a few hours on Saturday. And his job is basically to look at his emails, give me some direct advice on, following up on highways, scheduling of work. He does take rides on Saturday, and he looks at projects, and he then responds to emails, keeping me in the loop. It's very helpful for me. This week, I've gotten access to our finance system, and I was going to have him pay the bills, but I think at this point, as we transition, I'm going to share that responsibility with him so that I could better understand what's going on in the Public Works Department with the paying of bills. So last week, he put in for 4 hours. And that's pretty much it.
Is there a difference in price between, like, say, using him and then using the outfit we had the last time?
So the outfit we used last time was SLR. Well, actually, it was McLuhan.
Milo and McBroom.
Milo, thank you, and McBroom. We are still utilizing them for engineering consultation. I think that with the intimate knowledge that Mr. Spina had and all the improvements we made, it was easier transition for a couple, few $100s a week for us to keep him in place. He was willing to do it. I was a little more concerned that as he got into, back into his old job, that he would become tired quickly of having to come here, but he's been very gracious in responding and keeping up on the emails. For me, I think that's the best place for us to be.
Okay.
I'm just wondering what the process is going to be for selecting the next one. Are you going to narrow the list down, conduct interviews? Can we help in any way?
So I've been giving that some thought because the closing date for this position is August 19th, so we're coming close, and I don't want to waste any time. So I would like to go through an interview process. I haven't decided who or whom should be on that process. Normally, for that level position, well, for Louis' position last time, I kind of took a back seat for the first round, and then the second round I became involved. I have a better command knowledge of that position with all the interaction I've had with Mr. Spina. So I think that I could be effective on the first round, but I have to make that decision and move forward. I think somebody from Public Works would be important to be on that search committee. And from there, I would like to have maybe a Public Works Director from another town. I actually considered having Mr. Spina on there because he really has a great idea of what's going on. I just have to give that thought and really think that through before I make that decision, to make sure it's the right decision for us.
Go ahead, Ern.
Through the chair again.
Sure.
I think it's admirable that Mr. Spina, on leaving, for whatever reason he did leave on his own, has agreed to do what he's doing. Stay on so as not to leave projects that were stalled, that needed kickstarting, that he did. He resolved a lot of issues with rank and file. They definitely appear to be work-oriented, members of their bargaining unit in the past year, all they've worked on. And for him to want to stay here instead of leaving the town, Public Works in a lurch is admirable on his part. And I could see the difference from sitting here on the Public Works Subcommittee as the way it was before. And we're not getting the complaints that used to go to Public Works office whereby they were told, nothing we could do. We don't have the money. There's nothing we could do. Let's see what the council could say. Let's see what the town manager could say. He's never done that, and he's tried to resolve every problem from the drainage problem on Middlebury Road on. So it's admirable what he's doing.
I have a quick question. You were talking earlier about 6 or 7 job openings in the state of Connecticut. Do you know where we stand as far as salary is concerned?
So a lot of the towns haven't posted salary schedules. That's one of the reasons why I did. When we posted for Mr. Spina's position, well, when Roy vacated the position, I did not put a salary range in there because we were, we were kind of in the middle of the pack. So I did do a comparison through CCM, and I pulled all the current salaries of Public Works Director. It's all over the board. At 131, we're on the higher end of it. Not as high as Cromwell, but we're up there. But again, if we're gonna pay that, unless somebody comes in with a tremendous amount of experience, I think we have to look, do they have the engineering background?
Right.
We have to really look at our job description and make some hard decisions. If we get somebody who has a lot of public works experience, I think it worked out well with Lou.
Yeah.
He took command of the department and he went right to work. So I would be happy to see that as well. We would just have to keep on our, our consultant SLR to help us with the engineering and support our current engineering staff.
One other question. Wouldn't be a Public Works Subcommittee meeting without talking about Main Street. So Rob's not here, and we talked this afternoon when he decided he wasn't going to make it, and he did say somebody pulled that maple tree out of the shrub that was over by the bus stop in front of St. John's. But he also mentioned a bunch of other areas that still need to be addressed. I know we've talked about it a bunch of times. I think that, and again, like you said earlier, they hardly have time to prep roads for paving. So, how do we dedicate a couple of days to Main Street just to do some landscaping? If we could, that would be great.
Okay, so I am aware of it. To be honest with you, I'm of the same opinion. If you look when you drive into the town hall from Echo Lake Road, the grass was growing up between the sidewalk and the
Sure.
driveway, which drove me nuts every day. And I finally directly mentioned it and said, can't we take care of this? And they were very cordial and they took care of it. The problem is they took care of exactly what I asked them and nobody looked across the roadway, the driveway, to see the other side. So I think by setting expectations, we have to remember that if we want to put our manpower to work on Main Street, which really is a state road and should be maintained by the state road, I'm okay with doing that because I think the Main Street should look good. And if we have to spend a day or two to fix it, as long as I have the support of the council, I certainly will move that forward. And support of the Public Works Subcommittee, I will move that forward and say that this maintenance is very important in addition to all the other work they do. And
Sure, you have plants growing out of the wall across the street from the cinema, and I think we all know that the state's not going to pull over and weed
Right.
those. And at the top, it could all be, weed whacked, and there's several different areas. I mean, is it any help to Public Works to actually, when you see something like that, to maybe take a picture and how do you, I mean, I'm not sure how they don't see it, but I get it.
I think they do see it. I think that that's part of the customer service and the efficiency improvement that we're asking staff to take it upon themselves to be proactive in the maintenance. And I think that's going to be, it's going to be transitional for them to actually do it without being told. You know, I'm sure there's some staff that do it on their own, but the majority do the work as they're told. So we're transitioning through that. You know, in defense of highway, they normally get 5 workers, temporary workers in the summer to do a lot of this work. This year, they only had 1 that applied for that position, so they're short those 4 part-time workers. So that's kind of why the maintenance fell to the side. So I don't want to throw them under the bus as though they're not doing what they're supposed to.
And neither do I. I'm
Right.
just, I felt the need to mention it, that's
No,
all.
I will have a conversation with Mr. Grandpré and kind of, you know, see what he could do to fit in.
Yeah,
I will do that.
awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one more question to you.
Sure, Gary.
I hope this is a hard one, Gary.
Well, it's something we have to do right now, but it's something we have to look at in the future, since you're talking about Main Street, and you're looking at the beautification and putting all the build-outs and that. When I was reading the report there from the engineer company, they're saying that it's not gonna, it's, a lot of the like snow removal and all that, it's gonna be up upon our responsibility than the state. So I just thinking it's gonna, we're gonna have to look at more overtime on that, because they're just gonna go straight up and down Main Street, and we have to go in and do all the ins and outs. So I don't know if that's something we have to look at down the road as far as.
It's certainly going to be part of the picture as we make those changes. I don't know how much of that the highway department could absorb without extra, you know, huge costs.
Right.
You know, it's going to be up to the highway superintendent to kind of figure out how to integrate that and spend the time. You know, I can't imagine it's going to be more than a couple hours for them to clean up that area.
Yeah, no, I just figured like a lot of times, a couple times a year, you usually have either the town or contractors go up and do all the snow removal on all the sidewalks and stuff like that.
It is going to be more difficult for them
Yeah.
because it's just not something they could on Main Street, like you said, and just plow everything out of the way.
Yeah.
And just if I may, you did ask me a question regarding Falls Avenue, regarding
Oh, yeah, the bridge,
down by,
wagon wheel court.
yeah, so I did speak with engineering about that. We did apply for the mitigation funding through the federal government to try and fix that area. We were denied that monies. So basically, for us to fix that area at this point, we'd have to acquire property, we'd have to widen that area, the Turkey Brook, and then it would prevent anything. At this point, you know, we just don't have the money to do that. So like I said, they did clear that area of the vegetation, it should flow, but to actually make improvements at this point, we don't have the money for that.
Right.
Anybody, any more questions? I have just one more question, I'm afraid to even ask. I rolled through downtown last night around 11 o'clock, and obviously there was no cars on the road, and there was no people out, and I don't know if it's, I just never noticed, because I drive up and down Main Street, at least 4 or 5 times today. But these yellowish green signs, are these brand new? That show the walkway being here? You know, there's a,
I don't think those are new.
how new are they? I mean,
Oh,
they
yes,
can't.
yes, those are new. You're talking about the crosswalk signs.
Yeah, yeah.
Pedestrian signs.
They jump, man, do they jump out at you at night?
So as a result of our meeting we had a month or two ago regarding the Main Street RSA study, we had a lot of complaints that those signs were not in the crosswalks. So the next day, I asked the police department to pull the permits for those signs. They pulled the permits, they ordered the signs, and they put them out there. So I have to say the merchants are very happy with that. It does make a difference for visibility for people in that crosswalk.
Yeah.
So yes, they are new.
I don't think it's every crosswalk. I think there's one that wasn't done. It was and they also have the signs in the middle of the lanes, which
Yes.
the first time I saw those was last night. Last night also.
Yeah, so we did the crosswalk in front of, right up here by Hemingway Park Road.
Right.
by the new restaurant up there, and then right by the Red Door or the
Right.
Jameson's Pub. Those were the two that we've always had those pedestrian signs in, so we only supplied those two areas.
Yeah.
You know, as we move and we keep making improvements, those will actually be replaced with those flashing beacons.
Right.
That will be more alerting to pedestrians and the motorists.
I mean, they really, the reason I mentioned it is they really jumped out at me last night. I don't know if I was tired or what, but I was driving, I said, those gotta be brand new.
So you're saying, good job?
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
And did you say there's, you saw the signs like in the middle of the crosswalk that said like stop for pedestrians?
Yeah, there's two of them. One up by the library and one across where the Red Door or the tavern or whatever, it's
Oh, that's
Jameson.
great. Because that came up a lot in that meeting that we
Yes.
had.
Yeah. And those you could clearly, I mean, I'm looking because I've slowed myself down, you know? But they're very noticeable.
I walk Main Street quite often, just to touch base with the merchants, and there's been a lot of positive feedback for that improvement.
How long ago was it done?
Within the last 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. All right.
It
That
took
makes
time to
sense.
get the permits and then order the sign, so
Yeah.
it was definitely within the last 2 weeks.
All right, great. Anything else, guys? We're gonna move on to item 8. Gary, did you have something? No. Okay.
So I covered that already?
Yeah, I think you've already covered it. Yeah. Is there any questions on transfers and appropriations? No, everybody's good?
Make a motion adjourn?
Perfect.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Recording stopped.